Well, when at Mount Galilee, we were introduced, Bob introduced us to uh, the guy by the name of Mal Foster, who was a farmer here, and Hattie Sisson and her husband Jack and Mary Tucker was all at this meeting, and the McDonald's, Joe McDonald and his wife Rebecca were there at that meeting, along with, it must have been about 30 or 40 people there that we met with at Mount Galilee. And then uh, we went to stay at the McDonald's house. Now, Joe McDonald was, uh, and his wife were former sharecroppers, but they were now retired, and McDonald was in his late 70s, and his wife was, I think she was a year or two older than him, so she was 80 something, and they lived on Redding Street here, 909 Redding, where we went to live. And um, the, the Sissons house is right down there on the corner, across from the Hamer Museum. There's a White House right on that corner. You all probably noticed it when you came out, but that's the house where the Sissons lived that was shot into by the night riders, and the two Jackson State students were wounded. So Hattie and her husband were leaders in the movement, the voter registration effort here, and they had been down to register to vote, to make the application themselves. Both Hattie, Joe McDonald and his wife, and then Mary Tucker was the founder of William Chapel. She she lived right at the end of this building. There's a vacant lot there. That's where her house was, and that was shot into. Now, she had been trained by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. King's organization, through James Bevel and Diane Nash, to set up Freedom School. And I mean, what is it? They would set up citizenship classes, and they were doing it in William Chapel. Every night, Hattie Sisson and her husband Jack and Mary Tucker and the McDonalds were involved in William Chapel running what Southern Christian Leadership called citizenship education. And so that's how William Chapel became involved with, because of Mary Tucker. She was the leader of the church, and she was was the sponsor of moving that church from out in the country to town. And the other thing about Mary Tucker was she was a Sunday school teacher here. The McDonalds all were involved, and this William Chapel Church was the only church in this whole county that we were able to set up mass meetings in the evening. Now, this church was pastored by a guy named J.D. Story, Reverend J.D. Story, who was one of Ams's friends who lived in Cleveland, Mississippi, and he had a church there also. And so Reverend Story got involved with Amsey, and then the Tuckers and the McDonalds, the Sissons, along with the lady by the name of Ruby Davis and her daughter, all were members of William Chapel. And William Chapel now becomes the center of the SNCC effort, because after we kind of moved out of, after the shooting, and we moved kind of out of McDonald's house, we used William Chapel then as kind of our headquarters. And we had our headquarters set up here in 1964 when we brought the people in. But the Sissons and the McDonalds and the Davises and Tuckers were leaders. Yeah.
But the McDonald's, the Sissy's, the Tuckers, they don't get anything.
And the Davis. Now, in a paper that I wrote uh, talking about William Chapel Church, I called it an anchor because it anchored us even when the mayor of this town cut off the water, cut off the insurance to the church, and threatened to burn it down. Uh, the church deacons of this church met. The mayor told them if they got us out of here, that they would restore the insurance to the church, they would continue to get free water, and a lot of other things that they were missing out on by fooling around with us. So the deacons of this church met and to decide whether they were going to run us off. And the McDonald's and the Sissons and Tuckers stood up. Reverend Story was a carpenter, and I think you can read it on his, they talk about him out there. He said, well, we're not going to run these boys off. We're going to keep them here, and if they burn down the church, I'll build it back. So, anchor. And that paper, I talk about how William Chapel was kind of like an anchor, and that these people, with a backbone, if they had been able to run us out of William Chapel, we'd have been out of the depth because we were having trouble in Greenwood. They didn't have, and at that time in '62, we didn't have no anchor in Greenwood. We only had an anchor here. And we all kind of functioned almost every early SNCC person that came to this Delta came here.